Welcome, mental health family members and viewers. I don't know, welcome to Mental Health Monday. We're so happy that you guys are here with us. We're excited. Today is our grand finale for season 3. So, yay! We've had 3 seasons. We've been here for three years.
Isn't that wild? I guess
That is
time flies when you're having fun.
That is wild. It is. We have and for you, those of you who are just starting watching Mental Health Monday, please, while we're on this break during the summer, go back and watch some of our old programs because we have some good programs for the 3 years worth of programs. So you're not going to have all different topics on mental health. So we are excited that we've been able to do that for 3 years, and just want to say officially welcome Dr. White to this evening's program.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Yes, and again, welcome to all of you. Let's see. Welcome, Clint. Clint, you're number one. Always number one, Clint.
You're going
So
out with
good.
a bang, Clint.
Yes. Yeah. Please put in the chat where you guys are viewing from so we can say a special welcome to you. And as you can see, tonight's topic is marriage and relationships. So we are excited to talk about that with you. And also, and you'll get more information towards the end. I am doing a marriage retreat, a virtual marriage retreat. So it doesn't matter where you are in the world because you guys are, we have people who wake up in South Africa and watch Mental Health Mondays, or it could be in Australia or wherever. Whatever time it is for you at that time, you can be part of a virtual marriage retreat. And so we'll give you more information about that towards the end. But right now, we're going to be taking your questions and comments and and all of that about marriage, relationships, even being single. We want to talk about it all. So we are here for it all, as they say. We are here for that. So definitely get your questions ready. So I want to say welcome to Shan from Buford, Georgia. Welcome to Mental Health Monday. We are so happy that you are here with us today.
Am,
Also,
am I Ford from Pulaski, Tennessee?
okay, welcome. And Jason from Walla Walla. Thank you for being here. I can't see. Okay, yeah, I don't see
Agnes
another
and
look.
Jean. I see Agnes Jean. Welcome, Agnes Jean.
Yes. And then I can't quite see. I know it says Alameda, but I can't see the name because it has some
MP,
problems.
MPG from
All right,
Alameda,
welcome
California.
from
Wonder how.
Alameda, from the Bay.
Oh, is that from the Bay? Okay.
Alameda's near Oakland and Fremont, and yeah, I have spent some time there. Definitely Alameda, beautiful Bay Area. So we are just happy to have all of you here with us this evening. Have to say, Dr. White, I'm sure when we talk about addiction, you probably feel like that's one of my favorite topics because that's what you specialize in, right? When
Sure.
we talk about marriage and relationships, I'm like, oh, I'm excited because that's what I specialize in. But always happy to we both love to share advice that's going to make a marriage happier, which is going to make, if a marriage is happier, the children are happier, and if the children are happier and other family members are happier, it's just a better, that can help to create better human beings for society, to have healthy, coming from a healthy home, or healing, making a home healthy if it's not healthy. So anyways,
Absolutely.
we love to talk about these things. So yeah, we're
Absolutely.
looking forward to your questions.
And if they don't put them in the chat, I'll get the questions going because I
Oh
will
yeah.
I will
Okay.
definitely tap your expertise.
Yes. All right. So, well, we might as well start because when we start,
Yeah,
then they start to warm up. So
exactly.
we're gonna start. We're gonna take that time. We're gonna get your guys's marriage questions. We're gonna help populate them by. We're gonna start. So you go ahead and start, Dr. White.
Okay. You have a number of favorite things that you like to remind us of. For example, you remind us to get a PhD in your spouse, like
Mm-hmm.
really learn them. Um, Along the lines of that, what would you say is another thing that you love to remind couples about because you see them forget it so often?
Oh my goodness. On the spot question. Okay, the most. Besides getting a PhD in your spouse, what do I love to remind them the most? There's so many things. Um, okay, this is one. I don't know if it's the most, but it's one. That you're on the same team.
Mm,
That you're on the same team. Because, when you start bickering and fighting, you've drawn the line, and it's like, I'm going to use a basketball analogy because you guys know I love basketball. So it's like you're the Warriors, you're the Steph Curry, and they're the LeBron James. Like you're battling, like you're going to, like you're trying to beat your spouse, or try to win, and that's not the goal. That shouldn't be the goal. You're on the same team. You don't have to. They're not your adversary. They're your lover, your friend, and so you don't have to. You can speak to them with even when you disagree. You can speak to them with kindness and respect, because when you think about when teammates are on the floor, on the field playing, like even if they're saying, "Hey man, do this better," or "Hey, I'm open over here," or whatever, they're not belittling them. They're not calling them stupid. They're not, they're treating them with respect, and just letting them know, like, "Oh, I think you can do it like this better," or whatever. So it's like treating your spouse like you are on the same team and they're not the opposition.
yeah, that's powerful. I was listening to Kevin Leary comment on what causes a lot of relationships to fall apart. For those of you who don't know, he's a Shark Tank judge and very, very fiscally minded. And he
Yeah.
mentioned that he was surprised to learn the role finances played in causing relationships to decline. And with what you just said, when there's a fight over the resources
Right.
and each one is trying to get the resources to their side rather than a collaborative attitude and saying, no, we're on the same team.
Right.
Like, let's get the resources to the places that will move forward the agenda of the team.
Right.
You can see how that other, that mindset of collaboration supports the relationships, and then finances don't rip the relationship apart.
Right. Right. Yeah. It's huge. It's huge. We have a
Um,
question.
yeah, let's go for
What are some suggestions for married couples as it relates to postpartum depression?
it.
I'll let you
Okay,
take a stab and then I'll.
sure. So with postpartum depression, we are talking about the depression that can be associated with pregnancy. And it's something that we're recognizing more and more. When you think about the birth process, it's really amazing that a woman's body is designed such that it can actually give birth. And then you start realizing, man, what must be the chemicals, what must be the hormones, and how must they shift as a person goes from not having a baby, to then giving birth to that baby. Can you imagine the hormonal shifts that have to take place?
Right.
And then the power of these hormones is that they impact the mind and thinking. So you can see then how easy it is for a person then to experience a reduction in their mood as you think about decreased energy. Sometimes the birth outcome might not have been what the person wanted for whatever reason. Sometimes there isn't as much support as they would want or need, and all of these things can contribute to the postpartum experience. Well, here's where I will say I could have done a better job with my wife's postpartum period. I could have done a better job. Um, I believe I was in med school at the time, so I definitely had something that was consuming my attention. But it was in hindsight that I really came to understand how energy consuming it is, how defeating it is, how interesting choice of words, but how unfulfilled it can feel being overwhelmed by a new child. It's weird. It's weird because, like, Obviously, you're fulfilled, but you're so set up to feel defeated
Right.
because new mom, but less energy, and sometimes the support's just not there.
Right.
So, my personal advice to the guy would be do everything possible to go beyond what you might think is reasonable.
Mm-hmm.
Do everything possible to get into the experience and learn about what is involved,
Right.
in a woman giving birth to a child. Because there are not a lot of settings that really sensitize us to that woman's experience.
Mm-hmm.
There just aren't. And when we don't understand, we can then minimize and miss opportunities to be on that person's cutting edge. Cutting edge meaning giving exactly what's needed at the time that it's needed. And
Mm-hmm.
that's a cool thing when you can do it.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I agree with everything that you said. Really getting a PhD, like in the process of what the process is of giving birth and what your wife is going through, exactly what you said. And a lot of times it is the hormones, but it's also the lack of sleep mixed with the hormones changing. I can remember just after like maybe 2 or 3 days after giving, well, maybe a week after giving birth, just like standing and like getting ready to take a shower, but just feeling so like a different type of depression. I don't believe I was fully like diagnosed postpartum, but I could feel because of the lack of sleep and the hormones changing, like, okay, this is nothing. I've never felt this before. So all of that is happening. And it really just reminds me that, you know, giving birth really was meant to be in a marriage, in a committed relationship, because a woman shouldn't be going through that alone. She needs all the help that she can get at that time. Because yes, probably both are not getting sleep, but the mom, if she's breastfeeding, she's also providing nutrition for this baby. And so there's just, her energy is just like really, it's just not the best. And so I agree with you that the husband has to really step up and do his part to assist the mom in every area. Things that not to expect all the things that you expected before she gave birth to the baby. Being very just gentle with your wife and supportive, so your tone is good. I mean, the things that you should be doing anyways, but even like up that even more, so that she's already dealing with the stress of being a new mom to this baby. So trying to make everything else, her load, as light as possible. Especially if she's in a postpartum. Well, even if she's not in a postpartum depression, but when she's there, but to the wife, or the mother, I would say definitely talk to your doctor about what you're going through and what you're feeling, to just see if if you're breastfeeding, medication may not be the best option, but you're definitely wanting to talk to your doctor or mental health professional if you're feeling thoughts of just, of course, self-harm or harm to the baby and all of those type of things, because postpartum depression can get to that point.
Yeah. And so you hop on that kind of stuff sort of emergently. Like you really want to make sure you get yourself into professional attention. If you're
Right.
having thoughts of death, dying, harming yourself, or harming someone else, those are
Mm-hmm.
things that really need, immediate attention. You don't ignore that kind of stuff. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but uh, but it's a profound opportunity. It's a profound opportunity to be there for your spouse.
Mm-hmm.
It's a
Mm-hmm.
profound opportunity, and if you nail it, man, uh,
Yeah.
you're not forgotten. Because
Right.
I'll tell you, when you haven't, that's not forgotten either.
Right. 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 All right. Let's see. What would you suggest is the best way to keep the heart rate down, inner calm, when a person avoids communicating about uncomfortable conversations? I would like to answer that, and Dr. White, you could do a follow up as well. So my favorite thing that I like to teach individuals, definitely couples, when you're in a heated conversation, or you definitely want to activate your vagus nerve. And your vagus nerve is the longest nerve that runs through the central nervous system, and I think the body. Correct me if I'm not wrong about that. I think it's the largest nerve that runs through the body, but definitely through the central nervous system. And so the vagus nerve, when it's activated, can that brings your heart rate down. And helps you to just calm down. It's just amazing what it can do, and so you can do that through breathing. I like to teach people to do the 4-7-9. So take a deep breath for 4 counts, hold it for 7 counts, and blow it out of your mouth for 9 counts, as if you're trying to empty all the air in your lungs. And I like for people to do it 2 or 3 times just to practice that. So when a situation does happen, they're kind of more prepared to go in that direction. But definitely do the breathing, and that opens up when you do activate the vagus nerve. It opens up your prefrontal cortex. This is the adult part of your brain. So you're going to respond like an adult when you do that, because when you don't do that and you're like have the amygdala firing off and you're afraid and you're scared and then other parts of your brain that are just, your emotions are just mad and angry, you're not going to respond like an adult. You're going to respond like a child, and you'll say stupid things, do stupid things that you're probably going to regret later and have to apologize for. So it's much better to just breathe 4-7-9. There's different breathing techniques, and then put yourself on a timeout, a little adult timeout, then respond.
Wow. Wow. That was nice. That was really, really powerful, because you're talking about a tool where if you take a good therapeutic breath,
Yeah.
it's almost hard to stay like elevated.
Right.
You do this right.
It works.
I mean, it's just amazing. Now, the thing I'll add to that, since you went the physiological route and she
Yeah.
stole my answer, I'm going to
Sorry.
go the other route. I'm going to go the other route. And I'll talk about the spiritual.
Okay.
Since a lot of our audience is Christian, I'm comfortable, mentioning this.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we as Christians believe that there's God and we believe there's Satan. And we feel like Satan is active in this world causing turmoil. One of the things that helps keep me calm in arguments is remembering that Satan would love to escalate your argument. He would love to do that. And so there are thoughts that will come to you that often are not helpful. So what I talk about is AM frequency versus FM frequency.
Mm.
AM frequency is when God is trying to talk to you. All right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And the importance of AM frequency is it really underscores the importance of your devotional life, because when you get up early in the morning and you do your devotion, it attunes you to AM frequency.
Mm.
What is God saying? You
Yeah.
know, I know you're upset with her, but remember, she does nice things.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I know he's not at his best right now, but he's the father of your children, and he'll come around, like AM
Yeah.
frequency. Now,
And
what's FM?
you're on the same team.
We're on the same team ultimately.
Mm-hmm.
Other things and we have a big function tomorrow. It would help if we weren't fighting, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Now, what's FM frequency? FM frequency. There he goes again. You know, there he goes again. I don't know why I put up with this. This is
Mm-hmm.
FM frequency.
Mm-hmm.
I've had it. I've had it. You can
Yeah.
barely even hear what the person's saying. That's the dumbest statement I've ever heard in my life. These are the
Yeah.
thoughts, whether you're saying it or not. But now let's just pause for a second. How does that make you feel? That's the
Mm-hmm.
dumbest statement in the world. And he's always these statements that at their core are rich with contempt.
Right.
You know, it certainly isn't going to help your heart rate or
Uh-uh.
your autonomic tone. It's not going to
Right.
help. But when you can
I
shift
like
the
that, your
perspective,
autonomic tone.
yeah, it's not going to help. When
Mm-hmm.
you can shift your perspective, when you can say, I'm not going to be manipulated. I'm gonna shift. I'm gonna turn from FM and I'm actually gonna turn to AM frequency. God, what are you saying to me in this moment?
Right.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
that's what can lead you to remain solution oriented. Rather than letting your ego get insulted, you can keep your eyes on solution and making sure that you're actually hearing one another.
Right. Awesome. Awesome answer. I love that. Let's see. Is it okay for a young woman in a marriage to take their mother's advice to have a secret account without her husband knowing? And what are the dangers of doing this, if any? Mercy. I'll say something about this first. Well, we don't know the ins and outs of that situation, why the mother is saying that. I mean, I would say normally I would say absolutely not, that, to do something like that, but not knowing that specific situation, can't say that about that specific situation. So I'm just speaking in general. That transparency, that's something I tell every marriage. Transparency is crucial. You're being honest, and you're not keeping you're not keeping secrets from your spouse. Like, they need to, and I think I said this on here before, they need to know, especially about money, So because this is dealing with a bank account, that just, I don't know, sets off alarms for me that something else is definitely going on. That's not a good thing. If you guys couples can have two separate bank accounts for sure, but you need to know that's what you're doing. That needs to be discussed. You don't have like a private account. Like, the two shall be one. How can you become one and there's secrets in the marriage? So generally, that's absolutely a no. That advice from the mom, I would say, would be wrong. But not knowing this situation, I couldn't speak of that specific situation.
I loved your caution because I was going to launch in, and then your caution was like, wait a second, because I love your caution. Because when we're talking about marriage, we're talking about from newlyweds, goo goo gaga, in love, one, all the way
Right.
to almost divorced, but married on paper. And so
Right.
that's why we can't
Yeah.
speak to the
Don't
specific
know.
situation. Who knows? Maybe there's even abuse in the
I
relationship.
was just
Who
gonna
knows?
say, if it's an
Who
abusive
knows?
situation,
Like
then
you
and you
might
need
be
to get
saving up.
away,
You might be
right?
saving up to escape.
And you're storing that away. Well, that would make
So it
sense.
varies. That
Yeah.
said, I want to I want to build on what you just said. Um, truth.
Yeah.
The foundation of relationship is truth.
Mm-hmm.
And I talk about like two dimensions of truth. The first dimension is honesty. Now, honesty is delivering the truth if asked the right question.
Yeah.
It's honesty. But the second dimension of truthfulness is transparency, what you just
Right.
mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
Transparency, where your delivery of the truth is independent of the right question.
Mm-hmm.
It's independent of even a question. You're
Right.
truthful. When
Mm-hmm.
when when your lover sees you, they can see through you.
Right.
You're transparent.
Right.
Now, I'm not talking about cruel truth. I'm not talking about that, but I'm talking about alignment to where you don't have to hide. To me, that's the foundation of intimacy, is the ability to really and truly deliver truth.
Mm-hmm.
So when we have to hide and when we have to bend the truth and stuff like that, it's like I feel like that's a cancer to
Yeah.
intimacy, to the foundation of intimacy.
Yeah. There's definitely something much deeper going on underneath, something like that. There's something much deeper, much deeper. But again, not knowing that situation specifically, I think those were the best answers we could give on that one.
Exactly.
As you guys are thinking of more questions, I just want to say, and maybe Amber, you could put up the website. There is a virtual marriage retreat happening this weekend, Hearts on Fire, virtual marriage retreat, and I am hosting that. And you'll be able to not only ask you will be able to ask these type of questions, but you're going to be learning so much, and definitely in some of the areas that we're talking about right now. And it's 8 hours worth of training, eight
Wow.
hours worth of training. And I have to say that you're going to get a lot. You're going to get a lot. This is the third one. Couples have been blessed. They have just implemented some of these principles into their marriage. And I don't get like monthly reports from the first one was like a year and a half ago, but I know that many of them said that they are doing very well and adding the tips and using the tools that they learned in the Hearts on Fire virtual marriage retreat. So if you and your spouse are interested in that, definitely can give your marriage a boost. I used the analogy, I think, in one of the advertisements, like even if your marriage is like just an old car, like it's still a good running old car, but it needs some maintenance and work because an old car always needs some maintenance. This is for you if your marriage is like uh, a newer car, but it's breaking down all the time. This retreat is for you. And I'm trying to think of another analogy because I didn't think about that part. But if your marriage is like a car that's not too old, not brand new, but right in the middle, and you're still needing to learn better communication and all those type of things, this retreat is for you. So you can just go to that website and register for this virtual retreat. Go ahead, Dr. White.
Will it be interactive?
Oh yeah, it's live. It's
And,
live. So
and
they get to ask questions. And yeah, and I answer them.
that's
So
phenomenal.
I present, what happens is I present the information and then
Mhm.
we give this big bulk of time for questions.
That's awesome.
So that way it's not, I can get through all of the information and not be interrupted and that kind of thing. But
Well, it's
yeah.
funny because I think we hear about things like this, we hear
Mm-hmm.
about offers like this,
Mm-hmm.
and we can sometimes entertain a false sense of security, like, "Oh, I don't need that."
Right.
And the result of that is we do that enough to where the marriage gets to a condition
Right.
where when you're finally interested, it's so depleted, it's so emaciated,
Right.
that because you forfeited opportunities over and over and over again to like
Mm-hmm.
fine tune it and get some of these tools
Right.
that can be so powerful and so impactful.
Yes. We talked about that this week too, like that I was sharing with you that a lot of times people could get they could get some maintenance, some tune up and be okay, right? But then they normally reach out to me, a licensed marriage and family therapist, when like the house is on fire or their marriage is in the ER. And then they're like, "Can you fix this?" Well, we can work on some things, but it's much harder.
So NU dash
Dot
beginningscounseling.com.
com.
New
Yes.
beginnings
NU dash.
counseling.
Yes.
So
Yep.
so and if for any reason you can't use it, you might have a friend that you can
That's true.
refer and say, hey, you know what? You should really make use of this. All right.
Oh yeah, for sure. And if you know young couples, newly married, definitely send it their way. Because man, the things I've learned as a marriage and family therapist, if I would have known these things, like in the first 5 years, okay, be honest, first 10 years of marriage, it would have been so much easier. So definitely share with the newlyweds, the singles, and the reason why I say the singles, and then I know we have more questions, but for the singles, it's important because this is the time for you to be pouring into yourself to learn these things now, like so that you're not just stumbling into marriage when that happens, but you already have some tools and knowledge going into it. I wish I would have had that when I was a single. Mercy. Forget newlywed. I wish I would have known this when I was single.
Well, I mean, see, what betrays it is it's funny when you think about it, but it's so serious at the same time. Like
Yeah.
think about when you first got into the relationship, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's an experience I call virgin love, right?
Ah,
Where everything is new. You can imagine yelling at the person, you're so
right.
proper in front of each other.
Oh
But
my
aside
goodness.
from that, there's this real love, right? And
Yeah.
it just gets shattered by these like silly arguments or
Very silly.
just the nature of life. And when you're single and you have the wisdom to pursue an offer like this, it positions you to avoid some of those silly mistakes
Oh,
and forfeit that really awesome period in your
mercy.
relationship.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. I wish I would have had it. I
Kiddos.
really, and then, people, anyway, we can talk about that forever. Let's take your question.
Yeah. Anyway,
I think
so
there was a
let me
question
see.
up there. I think Amber had
Yeah.
it.
All right. Could feelings of possible abandonment make someone feel that way? And what way, I wonder, was she talking about? Because I'm sure
Yeah.
that was in reference to a statement.
Good
I
feelings of
don't. I wonder if it was in reference to whether they should get a secret account. But
Oh,
Cassie, maybe you could clarify
yeah.
for us feelings of abandonment in response to what? Excuse me. And
Yeah.
then let's see. Yeah. So then she said, "P.S. My statement question was in reference to the mother suggesting the bank account secrecy, which I don't agree with either." All right. Well, Cassie, why don't you tell us what you really think? I'm joking. I'm, I'm joking. I'm joking. No, feelings of abandonment. Maybe you could talk to us a little bit about um, abandonment and in the context of attachment disorder.
Okay. Okay. So there's four different attachment styles, and so I mean, when you have when a baby at infancy has secure attachments because the mother or the father were so loving and doting, and there was hugs and warmth and security, and people grow up with secure attachments. And when someone is born and there's not that loving and doting, and I'm going to hugs again, and because that makes babies feel secure, like, oh, I'm safe, and they can feel the love and the cooing and the kisses, and I don't know how they're not understanding it, but their mind is translating it into security and insecurity. So when that's not there, they have insecure attachments, which they will have fear of abandonment and being abandoned, like just not feeling, um, basically not feeling wanted, or just that fear. And so, going back to this question, if someone if has an attachment style that is always afraid that somebody's going to leave them, then it's possible that even though they're married and in a committed relationship, they still have that fear because they've never been to a mental health professional to deal with it. So they could always feel like, well, I better put this to the side just in case. But that just sets off alarms, like I said, like that spouse needs to go into individual therapy to deal with that, because they're not dealing with the issues that need to be dealt with, because it's not just showing up in their marriage, it's showing up in probably all the different spaces of their life, because that attachment style goes with them wherever they go. That's who they are.
Wow. I hope you guys are taking notes because that was a masterclass response right there. All right. Andre is asking, marriage counseling is good and all, but sometimes it's something mainly oriented to women. How can how can men have desire to take part in counseling without their spouse's suggestion? I
Okay,
heard that laugh.
can I answer this
Yes, yeah,
one?
yeah. Go for it.
It's funny that you said that, Andre, because I was thinking about this, because honestly, I'm thinking about the retreat, and I was thinking about different little for the advertisement, little things I can use to like really pull the men in. And I'll be honest with you. Let me tell you, of course, I've had the men there that have been drugged there by their wife. Trust me, they're just like, my wife said we had to be here. And you could see it all over their face and their body languages. She's making me come or whatever. Do you know that I can, and no pride on myself, it's all glory to God, okay? But I can win them over. I like to say, by the end of that first session, they are excited to come back. And by the end of that first session, well, by the next session, the wife is like, yeah, he was like, we have to go to our appointment. Don't forget our appointment. We have to go. Because a lot of times the way that I win them over is that I make sure he feels heard. And
Mm.
I will make sure, since he was the one that was being drugged there, I will try to connect with him the most because she's already won. Like she's already in it. So I'm not that I'm not listening to the wife, but I'm really trying to. And when he sees that I'm paying attention and even validating him on some things that he's never felt validated about, he literally, sometimes they're looking down and then they look up in my eyes and they're like, she's listening to me. Like they're like shocked. And by that time, I already know. Well, I won. I got them. He's because you can see it like all over their face. It's like,
Mhm.
and yeah. So that's what I do. So you want to, and finding a therapist is just like shopping for anything else, right? Meaning like you have to find someone that works, that you feel heard, I definitely make sure, and I think all good therapists, and I'm not saying I'm the only one by any means, all good therapists are going to, especially dealing with couples, you have to seem balanced. You can't seem like you're on the wife's side because they kind of think, especially a female therapist, they're just going to be like, oh, you're just going to side with my wife. You're going to think like her. So I have to be very, I mean, when the wife is right, I'm not going to make it pretend like she's wrong, but I have to be very, very balanced. So I'm saying all that to say you have to look for a couples therapist that you feel comfortable with and that you feel both of you are feeling heard and listened to by that therapist. Go ahead.
Oh, I mean, everything you said was right on point. For me, I I usually work it out with the woman. Hey, I know you said that your spouse is hesitant, so
Right.
just know that we're gonna kind of tilt things towards them, kind of make sure he feels heard, all everything that you said.
Yeah.
But I kind of get her in on it so that she doesn't feel like I'm just ganging up on her.
Right.
And then the other piece, Andre, is uh, Tante. Yet again, you said it. A lot of times, the therapeutic setting can be somewhat hostile towards men. I said it. Okay, like
It can
some,
be.
yeah, like
Sometimes
what you
therapists bring their own issues into it, but go ahead. Oh yeah.
like
And
you yeah go you are by no means the majority of the situation. It's
right.
like you have detected something and I'm glad you're tuning into it, and I think as a result of that you're providing great care because you're giving men a space to feel heard, and you're not just beating them up in the therapeutic setting. And
Right.
obviously when you build relationship with a person, they're ready to hear when you hold them accountable as well.
Right.
But it's like, but at least you heard me. And sometimes in the therapeutic setting as men, we just don't feel heard.
Yeah.
So you run up against what feels like a bias against your perspective, and that doesn't help at all.
No.
So I just wanted to validate that, Andre, that you want a therapist that takes the time to hear you,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and
Especially if men actually take the time to show up. Like, so I have some couples that will come on their lunch break, right? Or it's his lunch break, not always her lunch break. And I mean, they're willing to stop in the middle of the day and come to couples therapy. Like, yeah, I don't want you to feel like this is your beat up time. And honestly, it's not always the man's fault anyways. I mean, sometimes, yeah. Well, anyways.
All right.
Yeah.
So verse and vision said, is there a spirit of loneliness or a spirit of depression, or is it mental, emotional, neurological, or physical in the brain? Yes, verse. Next question. I'm just I'm just playing. Well, because it's kind of all those things. As a Christian, I
Oh yeah,
definitely
it's all of
believe in
those
a
things.
spiritual realm.
Right,
Um,
right, right, right,
but at the same time, verse, there is a biological realm.
right.
Um, how we're presenting and how we're feeling right now, there's a chemical contribution to that. And
Mm-hmm.
it's a powerful idea when you think about it. That the way I'm feeling right now, there is a chemical influence going on in my mind right now. There are hormones that are in play right now that dictate how energetic I feel or how non energetic I feel, how anxious I feel versus how calm I feel. That's
Right.
all chemically driven. Um, so there's a spiritual interplay, there's a biological interplay, but then there's also my perspective. If my perspective right now is, oh my goodness, there's hundreds of people watching me and it's going to be thousands later, and man, that's so scary, and they're going to notice everything bad about me, like what would be my experience at that point? If I adopt that perspective, this would not be enjoyable at all. I would be tense, I'd be stressed, I'd be all this other kind of stuff, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that's where there's an emotional contribution. Um, so that's why I, in a very cheeky fashion, said yes, verse, because
Yeah.
all of these various things do make a contribution. Now, the mistake that we can make sometimes is overemphasizing the spiritual and minimizing the science, or
Mm-hmm.
we can go to this extreme as well, and we can overemphasize the science and minimize the spiritual. We try to avoid either of those traps, and we acknowledge the role of the spiritual and the physical.
Right. Right. No, great question. Great answer. Good question and good answer.
Thank you.
Uh,
Deborah, final question. Should there be an age for marriage? For example, if one marries too young, the marriage could be at a disadvantage. And if a person's marries too old, they're already set in their ways. Ooh, you're gonna take the first crack at that one.
yeah.
I can already see
Well,
the
Deborah,
wheels
yeah,
spinning.
Deborah, you're definitely onto something. But I heard, oh man, I don't remember her name actually. But she was she's a psychologist. I don't remember her name. However, I heard her presentations twice. You would think I'd remember her name, but this was years ago. So she shared just that she recommends, I'm quoting her, Dr. So and so, because I can't remember her name, but she recommends uh, to people to wait until they're at least 24 years old. Why does she say that, you may ask? But according to the science, that the chromosomes our chromosomes they merge closer together. Like this is fully, she says, fully developed in our prefrontal cortex. And so we're making better decisions now. Even with me saying what she said, that depends, right? I mean, I'm sure that's actually happening, but everybody's life journey and story is different. So if there was trauma, then that maturity level is not going to be where it should be at 24. That's why we say, oh, somebody might be 24, but they're acting like they're 16 because there was trauma, whatever trauma happened to them, whatever. So if everything is, I don't want to say perfect because nobody's life is ever perfect, but if people are emotionally healthy and stable and there weren't these huge traumatic events happening to them, typically, according to this study, the chromosomes have formed, and so they're fully formed at 24, and so you're more mature, you're wiser. All of these things. And so you guys can look for the study, try to find it out. I should be able to quote the study if I'm saying it, but I can't quote it right now. But that's the principle. And so there could be definitely some wisdom in that. Is that like a perfect rule where it's like if maybe God is calling two people at 21, 22 years old to get married, can't say like, oh, it's wrong. You can't, I mean, it's gonna be up to the individuals, But people are literally normally more mature, maybe mid 20s than they were when they were 20 or 21 or 19 or 18. On the second part of your question, it's true. Definitely. When you're lived a single life for 50 years and then you're bringing somebody new into the scene, that's definitely going to be a major shakeup versus when you marry young and you haven't really established your routine in life and you're kind of finishing growing up and establishing together. That could be easier on that end. And then on other spaces, it can be harder and stressful because maybe you haven't built your financial space and the place where you need it to be. And so you're stressed in that. So there's no wrong or right. You can marry young if that's I'm going to say as a Christian, if that's what God is calling for both of your lives, and you can marry old if that's what God is calling for your life, and it'd be okay. But definitely, I would say it can be harder for different reasons on both sides of that. Go ahead. You can answer that.
All right, brilliant response. I hope you guys were taking notes. This is what I have to add to that. Uh, the essence of being prepared to marriage or marry is you're able to make a contribution. spiritual contribution, contribution for resources. I remember going into marriage, I was about 24, 25 at the time.
Your
And,
chromosomes were formed.
right?
Mm,
Well, my mindset wouldn't testify to that because my mindset was, hey, what can I get out of this? And I
oh,
think
yeah.
maybe I'm being a little unfair to myself because of course I don't think I was a complete rascal. I went in wanting to be good, but I think at earlier on I was more focused on what I could get out of it.
Of
And I
course.
think as I
Hmm.
matured, I more started getting excited about what I could contribute. And you see people asking themselves, "Hey man, am I ready to be married? What are you prepared to deliver? What are you positioned to deliver right now? And if you're not positioned to deliver anything, maybe this could wait till you actually deliver something." So, advantages I see for waiting a little later is brain development. Like
Yeah.
the brain is not fully formed
Right.
until you're about 25. At least that, like you said, the prefrontal cortex, so on and so forth.
Right.
Here's the thing to remember, folk: 50% failure rate.
Yes.
50%. So when something fails at such a high level, does it
Yeah.
make sense to take precautions?
Yeah.
We keep harping on maturity, right? And I'm going to drill this down to emotional intelligence. Okay, so there's a principle called emotional intelligence, EQ.
Hmm.
The hallmark, one of the hallmark foundational things in emotional intelligence is self awareness.
Hmm.
Self awareness. And one of the problems that can occur when you go into marriage and when you go into marriage too quickly or too early is you're not self aware.
Right.
And when you're not self aware, you're not set up for the second pillar of emotional intelligence, which is self management.
Hmm.
And when you're not set up for self management, you're also not set up for awareness of others, third pillar. And when you're not aware of others, you can't manage others.
Hmm.
So when you give yourself time to really become aware of who you are, what you're passionate about, you reduce the risk of starting a relationship prematurely and then waking up one day and be like, I don't like this.
Hmm.
I thought I did, but the truth is I didn't really know myself.
Right.
you know, and that can be problematic. So you can wake up after choosing perfectly and still feel that way because marriage is not just about I like you and I'm drawn to you.
Hmm.
It's on the basis of commitment. I'm committed to you, which means I'm not just relying on how I feel. But all that said, it helps to be self aware. And so that's where maturity can help. Now, the downside to waiting too long
Hmm.
is the most competitive options kind of get taken quickly and earlier on. So now
Hmm.
when you decide, okay, well, now I'm ready, well, now there might be less options,
Hmm.
especially if you wait too long. So those are some of the downsides.
Hmm.
And the other piece is, I don't know that you're ever completely ready.
Hmm.
The key
Right.
thing is you've got to be ready to grow, ready
Right.
to be kind, ready to be generous, and ready to recognize opportunities for your own personal growth.
If you're not mature enough to be ready to grow and learn, then you're not ready for marriage. Because you're right, none of us are ready.
Completely.
Uh, you're still gonna have to grow. It's still a learning curve. You just have to be willing. Like it's just like when you sign up for school. Like okay, this is what I want to do. I'm passionate about this. This is what I'm going to school for. But you're still learning. You're still growing,
Absolutely.
and that's what marriage is like. Definitely.
Uh, okay, what you got? Sunshine said the issues with my in laws, coupled with my husband's silence, is creating significant marital anxiety where we're weighing whether to disengage from family events. What's the best path? What's the best path forward for us? You guys need a Tante's marriage retreat this Sabbath. Show up
Right.
so that you can get a more custom tailored response. That's what I would recommend. No, but
Yeah, we
in
agree.
addition to that, well, I mean, I'm saying sometimes I can be cheeky, guys. You got to forgive me, but this is just my personality. Um, this deserves a custom tailored response. This deserves like unpacking. Hey, this is what's going on, and this is what's happening, and then you could get something more, customized. Then Sunshine further said, "We attempted to talk things through, but they gaslight and pull other members against us. That's why my husband has gone silent." I'm so sorry to hear, because I can hear and feel the pain in that question.
Right.
Um, what are your thoughts, Sister
Well,
Tante?
I'm trying to figure out gone silent with Sunshine or gone silent with the family. I would want to know that, but I'm assuming.
Given our current anxiety around family interactions, how can we discern if disengaging is a healthy boundary to our mental and marriage, or if there's a way to re engage with healthier dynamics?
Well, I would say for this part of the question, definitely you have to make that decision. I mean, but what you've shared, you definitely have. If it's causing mental stress for you and your husband and causing issues in your marriage, and you've tried to communicate and have a mature spiritual loving conversation with the family and they are choosing not to change, then you can definitely make a decision and set a boundary of where and when you are going to spend time with these individuals, if you're going to continue to spend time with them at all. Meaning, because I like to tell people, I tell this to parents, other family members, you can lose the parent card and the family card in the way that you uh, treat and respect other family members or friends and those type of things. Like, you can't just treat people horribly and think like, oh, your family, I have to stay here with you. No, actually you don't. But that has to be a decision that you make and that your husband makes. And if you've spoken to them and they're still not changing, then that definitely sounds like you're in a space where you have to make a decision on how you're going to move forward. But you have, this is not telling you what to do. This is just telling you that you have, from what you're sharing, sounds like all the right to make that decision if that's what you decide to do. If you decide that's what's going to be healthier for you as an individual, and yeah, you don't have to do that. I want to give an example here. I think this is a one of the most popular people probably in the world, and I'm going to use Michelle Obama as an example. As you know, if you guys followed the inauguration of Donald Trump, this last one, she wasn't present, and people were just thinking like, wait, you're the ex-president's wife, you're supposed to be here. Months later, she came out and said, because everybody was speculating, oh, they're having marriage problems. They were just speculating all over the place, which is just speculation. And what she said is like, she knew that she had never really put boundaries down for herself when she was in the public eye, because that's when all that the expectations were for her, because she was the first lady, she had to do this, and that. Now she's raised her kids. Her husband's no longer the president. That inauguration is not somewhere she wanted to be. That wasn't going to be good for her mental health. So she put down a boundary and decided, I'm not going to be there, which was perfectly fine, right? Because she's not in a public servant or in public life, and not, she's just not in that position. She doesn't have to be there. The point of it is to highlight when you have to make decisions that maybe other people won't agree with, and they're kind of hard at times, but you have to do the best thing for you. And so that's the example why I'm bringing this up, because she made the best decision that was for her mental health. She couldn't attend. And sometimes we have to make hard decisions. And she's also in therapy, so
Oh,
I
wow.
think she
Wow.
she worked that out with her therapist before she
Wow.
made that decision. But
Wow.
anyway, so sometimes we have to do that.
Well, I love your point that just because you're blood doesn't mean you're entitled to be toxic.
Right.
and that I must be subject to your toxicity. I love
Right.
that point.
Right.
I love that point because poison is poison. It doesn't matter who's administering it; it's still poison. And
Right.
it doesn't even matter that they're doing it accidentally. You'll still die.
Right.
So that's why. Why you gonna hop in?
Well, I was just gonna say because Sunshine answered a little more. She said her husband has gone silent with his family. Well, it sounds like your husband's already made the decision.
Right. And so that's why we're just talking about general principles rather than speaking
Right.
to that situation because the situation is so nuanced.
Right.
So I'm joking, but I'm serious at the same time. Like take advantage of this offer where maybe now you would have time to unpack it and clarify and then maybe get a more meaningful response from Sister Tante. But whatever the case, yeah, I definitely agree with you that we have to set the boundaries that are in the best interest of the family firm. I like to think of the marital relationship as a firm. I think of a family as a firm, and a firm has an agenda, it has a vision, it has a mission, it has goals, and
Right.
it is entitled to set boundaries that support the forward movement of the firm
Yes.
and be guided by that.
Yes. Most
All
definitely.
right.
Well, Sunshine, I look forward to seeing you there.
Oh, that'd be phenomenal.
She said I look forward to seeing you and your husband there. Look forward to that.
Oh, that's phenomenal. That's awesome, Sunshine. Congrats.
Yes.
Now, Verse said, if a marriage is lifelong learning experience, why is it that many people wait to have the assurance that everything will be perfect before entering marriage? That's funny, Verse. I wish
Yeah.
people were waiting because I don't see people waiting. I
No.
see people actually being premature. And I'm joking, Verse, but I wish more people were having the mindset of I'd like to be more prepared because what I'm observing, and maybe my view is biased, I'm seeing people jumping into this thing with very little preparation,
Right.
with
I
with
absolutely agree.
with very little meaningful training, so that you just the fundamentals of communicating. How do you communicate when you're angry? Okay.
Right.
How do you communicate when you're infuriated? What do you do when you're infuriated?
Mm-hmm.
And how do you set boundaries and feel good about it? Like these are like just some fundamental basic tools that nobody teaches.
Right.
You know, what is the major thing you can do for a man? Okay, that only a
Mm-hmm.
spouse can do. What is that major thing? And then the
Right.
flip question: what can you do for your spouse? What can a
Yes.
man do for his woman that would just really knock it out the park? Um, these are not things that are discussed. They're not.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
and you see people rushing into this super high stake relationship with minimal training, and you wonder why it's 50% failure rate.
Yes. It is, and it's so sad. And those numbers are those are just the numbers, whether Christians or non-Christian. It's the same numbers, and we've been saying 50% for a while. It's actually higher than that. Those were the old numbers. It's higher than that, and it's really sad. But
But
yeah,
here's the encouraging part.
yes,
There are subpopulations. There's subpopulations where the failure rate is really low. There are subpopulations. So,
yes,
for example, when you've taken the time to be compatible, when you've
yes,
taken the time to get some of these tools, when there are subpopulations that their rate is pretty low in terms of the failure rate.
right,
And so
right,
the recommendation is get into those subpopulations,
yes,
get some of those tools, um,
Is- yes.
learn
Get those
that
tools.
partner, get that
That's
time to
right.
learn the partner, so that you build something that lasts.
Like Dr. Gottman would say, you can be part of the masters. The masters are the marriages that make it. You don't have to be
Mm,
the disasters. But yeah,
mm.
definitely get into that subpopulation. So yes, we are actually all out of time, guys. When we're just taking your questions and answering them, it's so much fun, but it goes by so fast. Yes, spread the word, share on your social media, and I just want to let you guys know. Gonna join Sunshine and myself at the retreat, and her we're going to be there. But want to let you guys know about the virtual marriage retreat that's happening this weekend. It starts on Friday evening, 7 p.m. Central Time, and then it will be at 6 p.m. on Saturday Central Time, and then on Sunday it's at 12 p.m. and 5 p.m. Central Time. And all the sessions are 2 hours each. So it's 8 hours of training for your marriage. 8 hours of training. I'll be honest, you'll see on the website, the cost is really for 8 hours of training. You're getting that for like the price of one therapy session with a licensed mental health professional or licensed marriage and family therapist. So you're definitely going to want to take advantage of that. No matter what stage your marriage is at, you can benefit. So if it's stuck somewhere, you're going to benefit from the things that you're going to hear. If it's doing fairly well and just needs some maintenance, you're gonna benefit from the stuff you're hearing. And if you're single, you're gonna learn things that you can take into the marriage when you get into one. So you definitely you wanna check it out. So there you see on the there on your screen, it's newbeginningcounseling.com/marriage retreat. If you just go to newbeginningcounseling.com, you'll find the area that you can click on for the marriage retreat, but it's nu-beginningcounseling.com.
Can I
So,
can I give my final statement?
yes, get your final statements.
And that
Please.
final statement is I'm going to give you. I mentioned the subpopulations for that have lower rates of marriage, and I'll give you the subpopulations and the statistics. So apparently, college educated couples, the approximate divorce rate is 25 to 30%, down from 50%.
Okay.
Religious practicing couples, 20 to 30%. Married after 25, as Atante was talking about, 25 to 30%. Couples who cohabitated only after engagement, divorce rate 30%. Let's see. Unmarried under age 20 is like 60 to 70%, and premarital cohabitating, so no engagement, 45 to 50%.
Wow.
So those
Send me
are
those. Send me those
absolutely,
numbers. Was that on
absolutely.
chat?
And you know it. You know it. You know it.
Okay. Yeah. Because
You know it.
I want to send those numbers to somebody. Somebody was asking me about that the other day. So
I will send this right over to you.
yes,
So,
definitely.
Sister Tante, it was a pleasure working with
Yes.
you in season 3.
Yes,
This,
always a blessing to work with you too. And guys, we will be back for a brand new season at the beginning of September. And yeah, we're going to do even bigger and better things. We're going to have more special guests.
yes.
So I think you should be looking forward to that. But
Mhm.
during our summer break, please go back. We'll be airing some of these on Monday nights, but you can go back on your own. Just go to um, Mental Health Mondays on YouTube, and make sure it's our Mental Health Monday, so that you will be able to watch some of our older programs. Can you guys still hear me?
We can. It's showing. It's not showing your picture,
Yeah, that's okay. You guys know what I
but
look like, so you're just hearing my
absolutely,
voice.
we're hearing your voice. Yeah.
And we were ending. So, anyways, all right. Well, you guys have a good evening,
Take
and
care.
can't wait to see you back here in September when we come back. But please go back and view some of the programs that you've missed over the 3 years. All
Take
right.
care, guys, and
All
bye,
right.
Clint.
Yeah. Bye, Clint. We'll see you.
Take care. Bye
All
bye.
right. Bye
Bye
bye.
bye.